Hi, I'm Nick and this is the TBT channel. Welcome to today's video. Now, it's going to be another ramble down memory lane, another rose tinted glasses ramble down memory lane. So yeah, sorry about that. This is all due to my visit to the UK last week. A great visit, wonderful, beautiful visit. Enjoyed it very much. We went to Whitby. I went to see some suppliers. I picked up some new springs, made some more kits, but I got a few bits while I was over there, and that's kind of what started this video. I'll tell you what else I picked up while I was in the UK. Food poisoning. I had my very first Greggs steak bake on Saturday, and my very last Greggs steak bake. Now fortunately, before France I lived in Cornwall. We don't have Greggs in Cornwall. I don't know why. I suppose there might be a couple by now because a lot of people have moved in from up country, but geez, do you eat that? Oh, I've been ill for 3 days. Ill for it's staphylococcus or something. I don't know what it is, but I can't definitely say it was a Greggs steak bake. That's all I had that day. Anyway, it's not been good. But what else I picked up while I was in the UK was I picked up my thermal unit. Did you see the video on that? I'm going to be doing more videos on that. That is a fantastic thing. I'm very much looking forward to doing that. Going to be doing another video on that after I've done this. But today I want to talk about that. My new telescopic sight. This is an Optima 1.5 to 4 by 16 Gamekeeper scope. Now, you'll have heard me twisting on about Optima scopes before. I've got, what's this one for? I love my old magazines. December 92. I've got an Optima advert there, and the Gamekeeper here is listed as being £134 in 1992. Now, I know a lot of knickers got twisted when I mentioned about inflation rates because house prices were taken out of the inflation index in 2001. Governments have a habit of doing that. If they lose control of one price, they take it out of that index to not show they're screwing things up too much. But it was an expensive scope, and that is it. It is diddy, it is tiny. It's also made in Japan. Now, back in the 90s, we still had things that weren't made in China. Not very many, but there were. This was made in Japan. In fact, I've got 3 Optima scopes here with me today. I've got my Gamekeeper, my Moonlighter, and my Super Moonlighter. And the reason they're all here is we're going to have a little swap around. We're going to play dressy up with the rifles. One of my favourite games. I hardly ever get a chance to zero them in because I've changed the scope again, but you've got to have a hobby, haven't you? So this is the Gamekeeper. It's a 1.5 to 4 by 16. What's the point in that, you may ask? It's just lovely. It's parallax adjustable. There, it goes right down to 5 yards. You can parallax it on maximum right down to 5 yards. And it is crystal. It's just a simple 30 duplex reticle in it. But it is beautifully clear, beautifully made, beautifully light, and it's just lovely. It's a wonderful thing to look through, and I've wanted one of these for many years. Now, there was a guy on here, Tony, thank you, who said, there's one for sale on the AGF, so I went straight on the AGF. The fellow on the AGF, whose name escapes me for the moment, you know what my memory's like. Thank you as well. This is wonderful. I managed to get this for less than it was new. How about that? So Japanese optics, these are great. They really are. I mean, some people will say that they're not as good as modern scopes. And I'm not saying you're wrong, you're just differently right. I love them. I don't want fancy bits and posts and dots and levers and whatever it is you get in the reticles nowadays. I just want a crosshair. If I'm aiming further away, I'll aim a little bit higher. And that scope is something I've wanted for such a long time, but now I've got it. I can't believe how small it is. So we're going to have a little swap around. And what I'm going to do is, you'll remember a couple of weeks back, I got my worst rifle, my BSA Lightning, the most disappointing rifle in the world. This thing here. The most disappointing because it shouldn't be the worst rifle in the world. It's not actually the worst rifle in the world, it's just the most disappointing. And I tried to do some accuracy tests with this and it was all over the place, partly because of the jaws, mainly because of the jaws. There's wobble in there. Also, it's not a parallax adjustable scope, and you will see that that is massively overscoped. It's a dinky little gun. It's got a bloody great 45mm scope on it, so that's coming off of there. And the first thing we're going to do today is pop the Optima Gamekeeper onto this, and we're going to see how it looks. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I've never had an Optima Gamekeeper before. This is my first one. It's the correct period scope for this gun. It's probably a scope that's too expensive for this gun at the time. It would have been considerably more than the rifle. But in my mind, it should be sat on top of a Colchester Gamekeeper or an Alros Trailsman. Do you remember the Alros Trailsman? It folded down into a bag, the bottle, the unit, the stock and the barrel, all into a little roll-up bag. Like a James Bond thing. It would look cool on top of one of those. I had one of those, and like most things, I foolishly sold it. Most of my air rifles I've ever had, I've been a serial owner of air rifles. I would buy one when one came along and I had the money in my pocket, and then when I needed the money I'd sell it on. And that's kind of how my life with air rifles has gone. Not anymore. I try to keep hold of them now, but now I want to keep hold of them. Do you think I can find an Alros Trailsman? No, I cannot, but I would dearly love to. If you know where there is one, you know where I am, you know how to find me. Let's take this off of here. Now, I'm going to put that to one side. We'll talk about that one in a minute. And I'm going to get my little teeny weeny, tiny whiny scope and see if that will go straight on there, or whether I'm going to have to do some mucking about. It's quite a complicated mount on this. It's a double-sided affair, but that's probably just as well because it's not a great scope mount on the BSA, because it's not the same size as most scope mounts, rails. It is a different size, which makes sometimes getting a scope lined up on there rather difficult. But it should be easier with this, because although I can just simply put it into place simply here and now, afterwards when I come to try and zero this, which I will, it also means I can adjust the scope within the scope mounts there to hopefully make it more central than it is there. In fact, I'm going to do that. I can see just from looking from the top there that that isn't central. That's closer to that side than it is to this side. So if I go one full turn there, one full turn there, and then take up the slack on this side, how's that looking? That's looking good, but I'm now on the wonk, let's say. So I want to get the front over a bit more. This is more complicated than I expected, but you know, all part of the fun. God, I do still rough. Do still feel rough from that Greg's monstrosity. Let's wiggle the back in a little bit. Okay, now that's looking pretty good. Only by eye. It's going to take some zeroing to get that exactly right. But this mount is a good fit for this rail. So let's take a look at that. Well, that is glorious. That is absolutely lovely. In fact, I could do with bringing it back just a millimetre, if such a thing is possible. Let's just see if I can just bring it back a fraction there, just to get the right eye alignment. Oh, that is lovely. So that's on 4 times. Let's turn the zoom down. We don't really need 4, do we? Let's put it on 2. Can just see the moderator in the front. I've had a lot of Fenmans. I've probably mentioned it. I don't have a Fenman at the moment either. And the Fenman's perfect scope is the Simmons 1.5 to 5 by 20. But at low magnifications you can see the moderator. And it's the same in this. So let's parallax it to 30. Check out the chicken shed. Yeah, that is just pin sharp clear. Absolutely pin sharp. Now, Japanese optics, I was saying about Japanese optics, they were expensive. This scope was 134 quid in 1992. But then came Simmons. I think Simmons, there are others as well, Optima and things like that, but Simmons in particular suddenly turned up with some very good quality scopes, but they were made in the Philippines. Things made in the Philippines, it must be cheaper labour charges because they were cheaper to buy than Optima. And I think that was the demise of Optima. I might be wrong, but I think that might have been what actually sunk them in the end, which is a shame. But to me, they're always going to be the ultimate nostalgic, aspirational scope from my youth. And I was still a youth. 21 is still a youth in my mind now as I age further and further towards the grave. So that's gone on there, and that's going to be lovely, and we're going to look at that in closer detail at a later date. Do you think that looks right on there? I think it looks very small, but I think for what this is intended for, it's a 25 caliber sub 12 foot-pounds very inaccurate air rifle. It's it's intended for very short range. You don't want a bloody great scope on that, do you? I think that's going to suit it. My other option, which I do have here in case I was going to edit that bit out, I've got my Crossman 2240 XL with the moderator thread already on there and the steel grooved receiver on the top. I was thinking of maybe putting it on that, and I might still do at some point, or might go thermal with that. I don't know. Let me know what you think on that. Actually, could be an idea. So now I have my Optima 3-9 by 45 Moonlighter, and you'll see here this, I'm making this, it's Tuesday morning at the moment. I would like to publish this video Wednesday evening, Wednesday the 28th possibly. I doubt that's going to happen because, like a fool, I'm putting my HW80 in the video, and HW80 is about the worst thing you can try and get onto YouTube. They just go, no, it's a bad thing, and they restrict your access. So I may have to argue for a day or two with them that this is just a low-powered, spring-powered air rifle. It isn't anything bad. It's a lovely gun. It's an iconic gun. And this is probably my favourite overall. It's got a CS 500 stock with stippling, as you can see, my favourite stock. And it's just iconic, isn't it? It's an HW80. Now, it's all about nostalgia, isn't it? It goes back to John Darling. And John Darling used an HW80 before he went over to a Rapid 7. And he used the Optima Super Moonlighter scope. And that's what I've got on here. But I'm taking this off of here. For why? It's just too heavy. It's too big, it's too cumbersome, and it's too heavy. And I think it just looks a little bit wrong. So that's actually going to come off of here. I'll be honest with you, this Super Moonlighter, it isn't in the best condition. I found it in a bargain bucket in a local shop, Guns & Co, Chevron So, off the N10, easy parking, half an hour north of Bordeaux, half an hour south of Angoulême. But I found it there and it was dirt cheap. There's scuff marks on it. It's got the cap missing off the top. I'm actually going to find a coin that's the right shape for in there, I think, and just hot glue that in so it looks finished. It's a good scope internally. It's absolutely perfect. Again, all these have got the 30-30 standard duplex reticle. And I'm going to put that there. And I'm going to swap it for, this much lighter Moonlighter. Now, I do believe, I could be wrong, correct me if I am, but I do believe John Darling started out with the Moonlighter before being seduced by the power of the Super Moonlighter. Now, let's get this straight from the start. The name Moonlighter on this scope is possibly the single best bit of marketing of the 80s and 90s as far as air rifles concerned for me, because to me, I couldn't afford one of these. This particular one in, let's find an advert that's got this exact one in it. The Moonlighter was £105, so actually cheaper than this one here, but it was £105. I couldn't afford that for a scope, but it was called the Moonlighter. Now what does that tell you? That says you can go out and shoot by moonlight with this, because it's got such a whopping 45mm objective lens, and that's what it says. Let's see, well, I've got the description here. Okay, so we've got the Super Moonlighter is described as a massive 56mm objective lens, 3 to 9 power zoom, terrific light gathering capability as used by John Darling, the Hunter. That's the advert, 1992. The Moonlighter, this one, same specification as the Super Moonlighter, but with slightly smaller, though still huge, objective lens. So the light gathering on these was going to be immense. We knew that. We couldn't afford to buy one, but we knew that if we did, we'd be walking around the woods and the fields by moonlight, happily shooting at rabbits, and they wouldn't know we were there because we could see better than them. It wasn't true. We know that. I mean, God, you see some of the scopes on guns now. Compensating. There we go. Let's pop you on there. As a reference, on Viroc 77s, 97s and 80s, the more modern ones, at the back, I'll just do these up and I'll turn it around and show you. On the back here, you get a little stamped warning on there, and amongst that stamped warning is 2 little triangles. I like to use those as indicators, not to tell people when I'm turning left or right, but let me just check that's the right way relief. It is. I thought it would be, because I tend to do all my scopes the same. What I do is I set the gun into the sight into the mounts, so that on a gun like this, midway between the front and back triangle is exactly where I want it to be for eye relief, and that means you can see if your scope's creepy. My scopes don't creep. This one's running at 17 foot-pounds legally here, 17 foot-pounds, but the scope doesn't creep because, well, it's got one of our new F1 kits in it for a start, but secondly, a well-maintained air rifle, regardless of whether you put a kit in it or not, as long as it's not oversprung, it's not going to creep. So a little bit of torsion on those, and how's that? Now, I have got barely a millimetre there. I doubt, well, I'd be able to get paper through there, but not much else. So that mount there is actually too low for this scope on this gun. I'm going to have to change that, but I'm not going to change that now. I'll change that before I do the shooting video. Shooting videos are going to be following this. This one I'm going to be making today. The next one I'm going to be making today. The thermal I'll be making today. But that one's going to have to wait a little while because I think I need a new breech seal for the Lightning. To give it a fair chance, I'm going to need a breech seal before I try tightening the jaws. So fair warning. The reason I'm making so many videos today is it's not Le Mans next week, it's actually the weekend after next, but I need to be that one. Well, I don't need is a strong word, we know that. I will be there over a week in advance to make sure I'm properly prepared for the whole event, and that is very, very important. In fact, what I'm going to do with you, young man, is put you down there. Comme ça, le bas. And next we're going to deal with where I'm going to put my Super Moonlighter. And that comes to another bit of exciting news, because this BSA, most disappointing gun in the world. You'll have heard me say it. I've made videos on the subject, but I've also made a video on the best gun BSA ever made. And it is here. It is this. It is the BSA Super 10. You'll have seen me talk about it. You'll have seen me effect a repair on the bottle. It wasn't much of a repair. It was just a sealing issue, putting the bottle onto there. This is a BSA Super 10 bull barrel. Look at that. It is, what, 2.5 foot of chonky. It is just marvellous. This belonged, past tense, to my friend Rob, who's got a restaurant a village or two over. It now belongs to me because he lost his pump to a Starship Trooper. No, I don't think so. That was Sarah Brightman in 1978. No, Tangent Man strikes again. He lost his pump and he didn't want to go down the whole thing with it again, and the leak, and he'd already had to replace the bottle because he lost the bottle. He loses things. He loses. Rob, you lose stuff. So he just wanted a Springer. So he wanted a lightweight brake barrel 177 Springer. So I swapped this for a 2.2 Pro Sport. I mean, yeah, it was a good deal for him. Good deal for me. I can't really cock the Pro Sport now with the shoulder, and it is a good quality gun, and I think we both got a good deal out of that. But not exactly what he wanted. But thank you, Rob. Anyway, it's always here if you want to play. Now, it's just lovely. While I was in the UK, I didn't have the charging adapter for the bottle either, shockingly, because when he lost the pump, he lost that as well. So I actually had this for a few weeks before we went to the UK, and I couldn't tell you about it because I couldn't use it because it didn't have any air in it. And now it has, and now I want to play with it. I got the fittings from Best Fittings, obviously. No, no discounts nor nothing. I'm just letting you know where I got it from. I always use them when I've had Theoben stuff in the past and had issues. It's just Best Fittings. They've always got it, and it always comes out quick. It's a good company to deal with. I like them. Let's just slide that onto there. The mount is the correct height. I've got plenty of space underneath there. That's good. Just going to give this a little bit of a tweak up. Would help if I use the right size Allen key. There we are. I'm sat there looking at it thinking, oh, I'm turning the Allen key, why is the screw not moving? Now, this has got a couple of issues, this rifle, and we will be getting to those. Let me just check my eye relief. Oh, I love that. I love it, I love it, I love it. Now, couple of issues. First one I can see inside of here, the cocking handle is chrome where it's inside of the action where it comes back. Obviously the chrome has rubbed, it's rubbed off, and there's a little bit of surface rust there. I'm going to take that out, possibly replace the cocking handle, not sure. Don't really see a point. I've seen the big bulky ones you can get. It might be easier, I suppose, but I certainly clean the rust off if nothing else. It's currently only running at 10.5 foot-pounds. The limit here, if I don't want to register it, is 15.5 foot-pounds. And as it's a 177, 15.5 foot-pounds is about perfect anyway. You don't really want more than that in a 177. So the cocking effort is quite strong. So the hammer, I do believe, let me just turn that off and decock that. There we are. I do believe, I remember Rob saying to me that when he got this originally it was a 2.2, and he asked them to change it to a 177, not change it, not swap it for a 177, but actually change the barrel to 177. And that would figure, because then they would have, to get the power, wound up the hammer spring to maximum, still to get 10 foot-pounds. So what I want to do is take it apart, let it breathe easier, and wind the hammer spring down so the tension on the cocking lever there is less, so it's easier to cock, but still produces, let's say, in excess of 12 foot-pounds. Still legal here, I will hasten to add, but in excess of 12 foot-pounds. Don't really want to go crazy because I don't want to reduce the shot count too much, but it's got quite a decent shot count anyway. And with my new, is it a GX-CS3, was it? The compressor I bought, you know, the compressor I bought, I've done a couple of videos on it now. I've been using it a lot. I used it to fill that from zero, and it stopped after about 10 minutes. I thought, well, something must have gone wrong with the compressor, but no, that was at 250 bar. Absolutely amazing. I'm loving that compressor, and I'm loving this gun. And what I want to do now is buy some 177 pellets. That's what I've got to do now. All I've actually got is Crossman Premiers, Crossman Acupels, Milborough Caledonian, and I think Bulldogs. So I do need to order some pellets before I can do a video on this, because otherwise I'm going to make it look very inaccurate. But that's going to come on to another video. Have guns got more accurate over the last 30 years, or is it just the pellets? I just had no idea about that. I think that'd be a good video as well. Right, anyway, that's it. So we have got my new Optima Gamekeeper onto the worst rifle in the world. Most disappointing rifle in the world, let's say, not the worst, most disappointing rifle in the world. I've got my 3-9x56 Super Moonlighter onto the best thing BSA ever did, as far as air rifles are concerned. And I've got my HW80, the best break barrel air rifle in the world, with what I think is the right scope for it, the Moonlighter, not the Super Moonlighter. I think that is a better fit. It needs a few more millimeters on the mount, which I will do enthusiastically as soon as I get off here. Please like, subscribe, hit notifications. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.